Welcome, everybody, to Practical Psychology Podcast, Episode 3. I'm Joseph Wong.
And I'm Tara Steinberg, co-host of the podcast.
And I'm Alison Koo, co-host of the podcast.
And I'm Zenia, registered psychotherapist qualifying, also co-host of the podcast.
So today our guest is Nicola Wolters, registered psychotherapist qualifying. Nicola is a bilingual psychotherapist based in Ottawa with a professional background rooted in community support, life celebrations, and counseling roles. Over the past decade, she's worked closely with individuals, families, as a wedding officiant, trainer, facilitator, and community outreach coordinator. Experiences that deepened her understanding of life transitions, grief, and the importance of meaningful connection. Nicola brings warmth, curiosity, and a values-driven approach to all her work as she continues to grow in her psychotherapy practice. Welcome, Nicola.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you, Nicola. All of us are very interested to hear about you as a psychotherapist and your volunteer work in the past. Please tell us more about it.
Yeah, so I have been volunteering for about 3.5 years for UHN, which is the University Health Network in Toronto. So that's a group of hospitals in Toronto. And that role was very important to me because it really connected me to the needs of the medical system and the healthcare system, that there's a lot of people who don't have support. I came to this role as a caregiver myself for my partner who's gone through liver transplant. So we were living in Toronto for 6 months for that. So my way to give back and to support other people was to join the patient partner program. And I have various different committees I sit on. I act as an advisor, coming from the caregiver side with working with transplant team. So we're a group of about 20 representatives from nurses to doctors, and so we see how patients move through the system and how better people can be supported, caregivers and patients.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm curious, with all this volunteer experience, how has that shaped how you approach your practice?
Well, it gives me an insight into the experience that people go through. I'm really interested in supporting people through who have difficult medical situations or need more care. So it's really given me a better insight into what people go through when they are in the hospital system, uh, or caregivers, that experience of being a caregiver, what that is like. So it's provided me with a deeper understanding of a role that I didn't necessarily know that I was taking on. And I've been able to connect with other families and caregivers who are going through the same experience, but a year, two, three after I've been going through it. So I can provide them with support and understanding. So this is really translates well to work as a psychotherapist. I have some clients who have medical conditions or who are caregivers. So it gives me a unique insight.
Thank you, Nicola. I do have a question about why did you start your career in psychotherapy much later in life? Tell us
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I knew when I was about 23, 24 that this is what I wanted to do. I was finishing up a degree at McGill, and I had the opportunity to take a course where I could do some counseling with master's students in the same class, and I absolutely loved it. Then the professor at the time said, "Oh, if you'd like to, I would be your supervisor." And so I was just about to get married and, start a family, do all that stuff, maybe not necessarily in that order, but, that was all sort of coming along too. And so I put that on the back burner for a long time. And yeah, but I've always known this is what I want to do. And a lot of my work roles, I did have that sort of work, that responsibility in some way, and I kept saying to myself, okay, this is, it's time. It's time to do it. Yeah, I'm 56, so that's I've waited a while, but in the last 7 years, I've been a caregiver and supporting my partner through so many health scares and serious health concerns. So he said to me, okay, you've saved my life, you've made sure I got my transplant, and he survived cancer and a heart attack, and now I want you to do whatever you've wanted to do with your life. So it's a wonderful gift. So even though I waited so long, I feel that a lot of my experiences have really provided me with the knowledge and the experience that I wouldn't have had when I was a lot younger. So I can support people who, not just from an academic and from theory, but also life experience.
Thank you for sharing that. It's commendable how you've always stuck around to
Yeah,
your dreams. You've always sort of
yeah,
been a caregiver, whether
yeah,
in the physical healthcare field or even now, like the mental health. So you've
yeah.
kind of listened into your calling.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, that's right. Thank you.
Nicola, as a McGill alumni and someone coming to this also later in life as a
Yes.
second career, um, how do you feel about, how do you think coming in later in life is a help for you in this profession? Because we're often in
Yeah.
amongst people who are younger, and so
Yeah.
how do we shine, do you think, from having this life
Yeah.
experience?
I think that's a great question, because I look at the energy and the capacity to learn that younger students have in general. I look at my own kids now, who are, two of them are graduating this year alongside me, and I see the focus is really on learning and studying and really immersing themselves in what they're studying. And I say, okay, I don't have that capacity the same way that I can't sit and study for hours like I've seen them doing. So what I feel is, just the knowledge that I have from before, the experience, uh, the lived experience is really what I'm speaking about. And I know when I work with someone who's a senior or someone who's older, when I say, yes, I understand that is difficult, I know there's an authenticity there that I couldn't have given when I was younger. Um, the skill set there's a lot of similarities, but I think some people are looking, or some clients are really looking for someone who has greater life experience. Whether or not they're going to be the better psychotherapist, I think that's really depends on that connection you make. But yeah, definitely life experience has been a point that people have said to me. Yeah, I like that you aren't as young as but yeah. Oh,
I've had
Nicola
similar
here.
experiences. Oh,
yes.
sorry, Joseph, go ahead. I was just going to ask a quick follow-up question. I'm
Yeah.
wondering if the life experience has also helped you dealing with people from different cultural backgrounds. I see that you've actually done some international work as well.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I mean, I had the perhaps, didn't have an experience of, moving to a different country. As a lot of students I've met, they're fairly new to Canada, and I didn't have that experience. But I did live in Trinidad and was working as a researcher there in the field. So I went to a tiny little village where I had to interview. I did 100 and something interviews in about a month and a half. So I really had to immerse myself in the culture, go from just some reading knowledge to prepare for this work, and then understand what it's like to go somewhere and to have to understand the differences and how I can fit in. And there was language differences, and so it really opened my eyes to what really being aware and open to differences between culture and life experiences again. So yeah, that really sort of was an eye-opening experience that made me see how I can learn a lot from being in different places too.
Amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
And Nicola here, along that same line, is very interesting. You talk about doing research prior and then talking to the people actually.
Mm-hmm.
Because psychotherapy and counseling in one of the search items on Google or ChatGPT, because a lot of people need help compared
Yes.
to seeing you actually
Mm-hmm.
as a psychotherapist to walk the journey.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about that experience with many patients.
Okay, so do you mean the experience of walking alongside patients in or I'm
Exactly here,
yeah,
because
yeah.
a lot
Mm-hmm.
of psychotherapists, they don't have that
Okay.
one-on-one volunteer with patients, and
Mm-hmm.
you understood their concerns.
Yes, yeah. Well, I think that a lot of it is an ability to have empathy, to demonstrate that empathy. I also feel that making a connection, I think it's important to find something in some way that you connect with other people. So it's not necessarily that, oh, I understand completely, I've had exactly the same experience, but I think on some level somewhere there's always a connection you can make. So I was working with someone once, a student. We were working on a project together in school, and this was last fall, and we were trying to find sort of some similarity, some connection. We were from different cultures and different life experiences and ages. And then I shared with her, yeah, well, I lived in Trinidad and worked there for a while. And it was like, oh, well, then you understand, because she was from Trinidad too. I think you can't always find the perfect connection, but it's to find something in past life experience or work, or as volunteer work, where you make that connection, which I think it shows some authenticity and greater understanding for clients. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, Nicola, along that line here,
Yeah.
what are some of those experience the book knowledge is different than the real person that you met that you learn after?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. Well, I guess we always want, it would be great if a client, you could, everything that we're supposed to do when we're working with a client, if you could say, oh, this is how I'm supposed to plan the sessions, and everything goes really well, and you move through your session, as you plan it. That doesn't work out that way. So, we learn a lot, I think, in school, about the theories and how a session is supposed to go, for example. But when you get into a session, uh, the person you're with isn't going to necessarily know that you have this plan, and they're not going to, and things are going to come up, especially emotions or unexpected. Something unexpected could come up. You can be in a session where the focus has been on a particular topic, and then you're thrown a curveball, so to speak, where something comes out of the blue which you really didn't expect, and then you have to be able to adapt and to go with what that person is sharing with you, and not feel, in the beginning, it's you maybe as a new counselor, you're less confident in that. But I think my other experiences being out in the field doing research has given me that capacity to adapt as I go.
I have a quick follow-up question on that note, Nicola. You have been all over and you have so much experience from different fields and fairly
Yeah.
different fields, right? Not very close together. I am curious to know more about how, if at all, does your experience as a wedding officiant extend into couple counseling work? You do couple counseling. How does that really go on? I'm curious to know the sessions
Okay.
part of it.
Yeah, another great question. Well, first I'll say I think a lot of my experience I can tie together, even though some things seem to be very different. I think it's important to be able to look at everything that we do in our lives and pull something out of it and say, okay, this has taught me that, which leads to the next thing. And in terms of couples counseling and being a wedding officiant, I see a lot of times when I'm helping a couple prepare for their wedding, they everything is focused on the planning of the wedding, what life is going to be like, how it's a time where often there's deep love and a deep sense of connection, but a lot of topics that are going to become important in a relationship and marriage aren't ever addressed because everyone is in that happy time, or even if there are problems already with couples, it's pushed aside. So I find that when it comes to actually couples counseling, it's what you see is a lot of couples that haven't learned to communicate, or they haven't really addressed the important topics. So being a wedding officiant for me has given me great insight into how a couple starts off, and then see how they end up or what they're missing. And I've done some counseling with couples, premarital counseling too, which I think is fantastic. Very few people even consider doing that, and I think it's a great opportunity. That doesn't necessarily mean there's a problem in the relationship. It's an opportunity to discuss serious topics or important topics like finances or children or family. So I think that being a wedding officiant is definitely an opportunity for me to see couples at their best, but also at the innocent pre-conflict days.
For sharing that. That was amazing because you point out that there is a perspective that's lacking and it's important to show up. So two important points. There's a perspective that's lacking in couples, that you may see as a wedding officiant, and you can provide that to them in counseling. And also that it's not always couple counseling is required when there's a problem, but also to connect with each other at a deeper level.
Yeah.
I think that whole point is really amazing about when should mental health be preventative. There's probably, I know it's quite common in couples not to prepare, but I think overall it's been quite common in general for mental health to be only when you're really stuck. How do you feel about that? I wonder how my co-host also feel about that.
Yeah, I think prevention is so important, and as you said, usually by the time we see clients, it's because there is a problem. Or I get, like, in the healthcare in general, we go to see the doctor when there's something wrong, rather than having a, let's say, a prescription for a healthy life. So I think that yeah, it would be great if we had more access to mental health learning or programs. Of course, I mean, that sounds like a little bit naive, maybe, that everybody gets a good dose of care and mental health care, but it certainly, I think we can all benefit from some mental health care for sure. Yeah.
Well, maybe if the government could see that, they'd actually save money in the long term.
Yeah. Therein lies the problem, right?
Right.
Oh, very interesting here because I was talking to Alison, and Alison is recently seeing some clients because of their relational challenges. And a lot of them, when we are talking about a case consultation, will benefit from the couple counseling, education, or the prevention. What do you think, Alison?
Yeah, no, this is such a great thread, and I really appreciate that you've brought this up because it's true. In my experience, most of the time, it's um, people come to you when they're in crisis, and the majority of the initial time that you work together is spent on managing that crisis and not allowing for as much time to get into the root cause or, to really have a chance to explore like where things are coming from and, kind of capture that preventative nature of things. So I love that you're offering that as a service to some of the couples that you're working with. And I mean, I could see it being applicable not only to couples, but like so many different applications, whether it's just an individual or families. And I wonder if, like, I guess I just wonder, you have such a diverse, uh, you've such a diverse background. You've walked so many different, you've worn so many different hats, and you have so much experience in all these different places. I'm curious, um, what areas are you particularly interested in focusing on in your future practice?
Oh, thank you for the question. Yeah, there's a couple of areas. So in the last 4 or 5 weeks now, I've been offering a course to everyone affiliated and working together here with Free Counselling Society Canada. And so it's a course on marketing for psychotherapists. I did a lot of marketing work too in different roles. So what I'm really interested in is the entrepreneur in all of us, and especially as psychotherapists, because I'd say the majority of us, from my understanding, is that we're going to go into private practice or at least be very independent. So, what does that look like? What does it mean to be an entrepreneur? It's I think entrepreneurs have a unique skill set. So that's one area I'm interested in. I'm interested in working with caregivers, seniors, and I'm also very much interested in working with couples. I feel at this point, though, it's important to also remain open to working with people from with coming with different concerns and from different life experience. I think that's an important role that I want to. I do know certain directions and certain things for sure, but I also like to see where I can be a good fit.
I must say, as someone who's attended your seminars on marketing, it's been very helpful. So I can only imagine how you are in therapy if you bring that same, that same joy and organization to that.
Thanks.
Is there I know you're still learning, but is there particular modalities or particular strategies that you like to use as a counselor?
Yeah, well, I'm learning more about ACT, which I know is something that has been a topic today. Now, I find acceptance and commitment therapy to be really, really interesting. And I wasn't initially, there's so many, especially if we're looking at cognitive behavioral therapy and then, moving on to second wave. And I find there's I'll read about something, or I'll find a particular technique and think, oh, isn't that amazing? And I'd love to use that approach. But I had a client a while back who had been through a lot of counseling, who had tried different modalities, and they said to me, you know what? I've always wanted to try this. And so I said, okay, well, I don't know much about it, but I'm willing to learn if you're willing to follow on that path with me. And she was looking at it. It was particularly important to her because she had tried so many things and nothing was working. And she'd gone to the point where she said, you know what, I just want to learn how to live with this challenge and be okay with it. And she said, I think this act is really going to speak to me and work. So that was that was sort of a turning point for me in this pursuit of understanding or learning more about a particular modality. Yeah, and I love metaphors. I think, if you can find the right metaphor, which in ACT, it's so helpful, and you can see just a light go on in the client's eyes from, like, you're trying to explain something and then they, oh yeah, so it's a wonderful tool. So I love that.
Yeah, just for anyone who's listening who may not be a therapist, ACT is very much about being able to tolerate your problems and to separate yourself from the problems
Yeah.
that you're dealing with. So not to be fused in the ACT language with your problems. And
Yeah.
it's fascinating. It's a newer therapy, but I think it's really good, especially it has a lot of the wonderful elements of CBT, of DBT, of a whole bunch of different ones. But I find it very practical and easy for even someone who's not like someone who's not familiar with going to therapy to grasp the concepts and to apply them.
Yeah, that's what I liked about it too. And when my client first introduced it, I thought, uh-oh, I have a lot of learning to do. But it really spoke to me too.
And how's that client doing?
Well, a lot better. She graduated, as she said. She felt that she was able to make a lot of changes, and yeah, I mean, it was rewarding for me to see how it was to work with a client who was very open and generous in working with me and learning at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love that. I love the whole learning with your client. I've tried it too. It's worked out well for me too. And
Yeah.
you really both connect even deeper, I believe, when you're both kind of figuring it out together
Yes.
and really bring out that collaborative nature.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
And Nicola here,
Mhm.
I can see in the room here today, you
Yeah.
have the persona to make people have a smile on their face.
Yeah.
Have anybody told you about that? And I also watched some of your demo videos before. The way that you connect with the client
Yeah.
is very special. How did you do that?
Oh, thank you, Joseph. That means a lot to me. Uh, I've always loved people. As a generalization, I find people are fascinating. Everyone has something to offer, and each time I meet someone new, it's like opening a gift. You get to learn about the person's life, and just the fact that someone is open to sharing about their life to me is a gift. So it brings me joy. That's why I'm a wedding officiant. I also do funerals, because again, I get to learn about people. I get to make that connection through important, life experiences. As a birth doula, the same thing. I think it's almost a pursuit of joy from people that I'm seeking, and not to dismiss pain and sadness, because we all have that. But for me, I think I cope with laughter, and so I try to share a little bit of that in the right time, the right place with my clients. Mhm.
And following upon this point here, Nicola, because you'll be setting up your practice here, integrating multiple entrepreneurships, working with a diverse set of clients, based on your one-on-one relationship with that here. If there's one thing you want to say to the listeners or viewers, what would that
Yeah.
be?
Well, I think it's important to understand that life is about change and transitions, that even when we plan, things don't necessarily work out the way we plan, and everyone has ups and downs and good and bad experiences, and so it's important to be able to move through those transitions and come out feeling that even if things aren't perfect, that there is support along the way.
Okay. Very good here. We today are very happy to have you, Nicola, on here, and we would love to see you more on this podcast in the future.
Thank you so much. I'm really appreciative.
Okay.
Thank you for
Thank you,
joining
everybody.
us.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.